We are joined this morning by Dr. Todd Freeman, Superintendent of Education of Sylacauga City School System. Also, Debbie Barnett, who is the Administrative Assistant of Instruction. We welcome you both, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Dr. Freeman, let me start with you. One thing we wanted to touch on this morning, we've got a lot of issues with flu across the state of Alabama, including schools. Where are we at with the Sylacauga school system?
We do, Jimmy Dale. It's obviously, if you've been reading the papers and the news, it's an epidemic, and I hope it doesn't reach what they would call a pandemic stage, but a lot of schools in the state are dealing with it. We have been so far not seen the percentages of absences that would give me concern to want to look at a school closure. But you know, our folks are doing a good job and the best they can in terms of sanitizing, parents keeping kids at home that are sick. Those are the key things. And I mean, I'm not a doctor or nurse or any sort of thing like that, but that's the key, is stay home, you know, if you're sick, and wash your hands constantly throughout the day.
I saw this study this morning that said wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands.
Yeah.
Let's get an update on the academic progress in our system for the last couple of years. Can we do that?
We sure can. This month we have 2 report cards that are part of our system. The federal government requires a report card that they don't put a grade on, but we got that information a few weeks ago. And then our state report card will be released on February the 1st. And actually it'll tell us what our grades are in our system. And it's based on how we did on standardized tests, what our attendance rates look like, what our graduation rate looks like, and something that's called our college career readiness rate. And I want to touch on that for just a minute. That college career readiness rate is particularly important to us because it's what a student has beyond a diploma when they graduate high school. So that's an important piece. So if they get an industry credential, or if they get college credit, or if they pass an AP exam, or if they make a certain score on the ACT, or enlist in the military, that's one other thing they can have to be ready when they graduate. And our rate for the class of 2016 that'll show up that's on the federal card is 81% of our graduates had one of those extra credentials. That's fantastic. Our class of 2017 that just finished last May, 87% have it. And so our current class of 2018, we're already tracking ahead, and I think we'll surpass that number. That is a big step, and I think a compliment to the work that's going on throughout our schools for our kids to get a diploma, and our graduation rate's 93%. We're pleased with that. But to get that diploma and then be ready for the next step.
Of course, the system has been busy in enhancing the student experiences in different, in science, technology, and engineering, and math, and over the past 3 years, and applause for all of that. I know you guys are excited about that.
We are. That's been a major focus in education, is what people refer to as STEM. And the interesting thing about it is last week we all saw the news that Sylacauga ranks #1 in the nation in manufacturing jobs. 40% of our people employed in Sylacauga have jobs in manufacturing. And when you add to that our largest employer, which is the medical center here in town, those areas are STEM areas, and so we want to be attuned to preparing our kids for that. So we have programs in place. One's called AMSTI, which is an Alabama Math Science Technology Initiative that we focus on the sciences in grades 3 through 8. And we also have a program called Project Lead the Way that grades 3 through 12 can have access to courses in health science and pre-engineering. We think those are powerful things. Whether you become a doctor or an engineer, it's the skills that it teaches in the STEM fields that make you much more employable when you graduate. So we're real pleased with those things, and we've got a lot of other things going on in math that Debbie's going to be able to talk with you about as well.
Well, let's formally introduce, and I'll ask you to do that, Debbie Barnett, who's a former principal at Pinecrest in a new position.
Debbie is no stranger to this community. Debbie and I are actually Clay Countyans, and so we have a little bit of that history. We just went to different schools, but I learned that about her when I moved here. But Debbie Barnett has been the principal, assistant principal. She's been a teacher. She's been a principal at 2 of our schools. She has worked in the State Department in the intervention parts. She is a math expert. And she and I have had a lot of conversation the last couple of years on ways to improve the work we're doing in math. We've got some positive things happening in math, but we want to take it to another level. And so our conversations have been, how do we do that? And the key for us is that we have a point person that is an expert, that can lead us forward, that can take the great teachers we have and move us to an exceptional level. So I asked Debbie to take this role that we call the Administrative Assistant for Instruction, and her responsibility absolutely is about taking Sylacauga and leading us to the next level of excellence in mathematics.
Debbie, welcome to the show this morning, and talk about your new position and the future of academics here in our community.
Oh, look, I'm very excited. Dr. Freeman has given me the opportunity to help our math teachers, coach our math teachers to get better and to help our students and to improve their achievement. One of the first things that we're going to start doing is just looking at powerful math practices. What are the best things we can do to help our students progress in mathematics? And then to look at strengthening our teachers' knowledge of content standards and looking at those things, just to make sure that our kids are where they need to be. We want to focus a lot on deep, rich tasks. Kids that require our kids to persevere, those that require our kids to have a productive struggle, so that when they're in the classroom, they see those assignments, they see those, and I'm not talking about more work, I'm talking about just deeper work, so that when they're taking the ACT, when they're college classes, or even in just a progression from Algebra 1 to Algebra 2 to Pre-Cal, that they can rely on those prior experiences and rely on those prior difficult tasks to be successful in the class that they're in.
Why is mathematics and math so important to the future of our students?
Math is everywhere. That's a question. I think back to almost 15 years that I spent in the classroom, and you put a problem up. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? And I always go back to that critical thinking skills. Kids have to have those critical thinking skills, but once they get through, 3rd through 8th grade, and we offer Algebra 1 in our 8th grade, and that is an opportunity that our children do have an opportunity to take is Algebra 1 there. But once they hit that place, 8th and 9th grade Algebra 1, that's their basement. That's the bottom of so many skills that they will need to be successful, not only in Algebra 2, geometry, Pre-Cal, and all those math classes, but in biology and in chemistry. When you start talking about your science classes, and then you get into those engineering degrees, and you get into, those other degrees that require math every day, then you really see why math is so important to our students.
Dr. Freeman, it's imperative for our youth today that they get as much education as they possibly can, because the workforce is so diverse today.
It is, and really the difference maker, Debbie just said this, and when she talked about critical thinking, that the knowledge base that you've got to have with all these courses you take, that's really the ground level. That's a given today. The next things are, can you think critically? Can you collaborate together? Can you communicate? Can you be creative? And it's what I like about mathematics, and I wasn't great at it, but what it challenged me to do is to think creatively, to think critically, and to be able to apply those skills to other things, because I don't do a lot of math other than budgets, but that piece of it lives with me today. So it is for those students that can take those skills that are not just the math part, but what the other things it teaches them, it's going to better qualify them for jobs. It makes them more competitive in a very competitive workforce.
Debbie, is this already implemented, or is it going to be implemented?
Well, we are starting a work this semester, more focusing on our middle school and high school. We're looking at making those smooth transitions from grade to grade to grade. Just this week, I've spent a lot of time at the middle school and at the high school talking about the 5 N's. What's most important for an Algebra 1 student? What 5 skills are most important for them to have going into geometry? And so we're going to look at those things. Our math program in Sylacauga has always been one of our strengths. If you look at our test scores over the years, that has always been a strength for us. So we're just looking to deepen it. We're looking to just get better. We're looking to enrich it and just make it one of the top programs in the state.
Yeah. Dr. Freeman, what goes into making a decision to move forward like this? This is a giant step.
Well, I would say it is. Thank you. And you can. I don't think it's any question why Debbie's doing what she's doing. Just listen to her talk about her passion with mathematics. It is. With leadership in schools, I believe in the ability to be agile. And at times we've got to move people to places that best benefit the system and use their expertise. Debbie's got a deep passion for it, but she also has a great knowledge base, and the staff throughout our system have a high degree of respect for her. So when you put those things together, you get very fertile ground to say, what can we do? our teachers are working very hard, have been for a long time, and so what we want to do is take our playbook and we want to enhance it. We want that playbook to allow us to move our kids to absolutely to the next level of excellence.
And Debbie, finally talk about the passion that you have that drives you in this position.
You know, when I was, I guess in 9th, 10th grade, I had a math teacher who I guess saw that I loved math and I was actually good at it, and so she put me in some positions to tutor. And so I started tutoring probably 10th, 11th grade.
As a student?
As a student. And I knew then, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I knew I loved math and I knew I wanted to teach, and I wanted to teach math. And so obviously I went to college, and that made it through that math course of study that's rigorous, it is, and started teaching at Clay County at Bibb Graves High School. I taught high school for 7 years and loved high school. Loved teaching Algebra 1, geometry. And I guess what drives me so much is so many kids get so frustrated with math and frustrated with why they can't do it, and then they're done. And I don't know if you heard me mention that word a minute ago, productive struggle. We have to teach our kids that sometimes it's okay to struggle, but if you're learning something and you're having that productive struggle, then that's going to build for years to come. For years to come, that's a life skill as well. But I love math. I love the way math works. I love to see kids who enjoy math, because it is a life skill that you'll have.
Dr. Freeman, finally this morning with you, it's been an exciting year so far for Sylacauga City School System.
It has. We've had a wonderful year. We're heading toward accreditation. That's a big deal for us every 5 years. In February, we've got a team that's visiting. We've spent this year looking at ourselves. How are we doing? What do we want to do better? What do we want to improve upon? And that drives us. Our strategic plan drives our thinking. And so this is one of those pieces that we've said, this is a commitment we're making. I could go on and on with you, but it'd take a few hours to talk about the great things in the system. But this is one I'm truly excited about now.
Well, thank you both for being with us this morning. Happy New Year to you, and continued success with the Sylacauga City School System. Dr. Todd Freeman, Superintendent of the Sylacauga City Schools, and Debbie Barnett, Administrative Assistant of Instructional Education, and we look forward to more and more from the Sylacauga City School System. Thank you both for being here this morning.
Thank you.
We got more Daybreak just ahead as local news continues after this.